a lot of carbohydrates and a lot less protein, then you're probably craving carbohydrates.
Could I answer that? I think that there's an addiction here that you have to recognize. When you crave carbohydrates, you are desperately seeking serotonin. This is a Madonna book or movie, and it's in a chapter in our book, Desperately Seeking Serotonin. And the way it works is that when you take carbohydrate, and the simpler, the more effective it is, you stimulate a rise in blood sugar and a rise of insulin therefrom. And that insulin allows you to have a burst lasting about a half an hour or less of serotonin, which gives you comfort. These comfort foods give you contentment as well, but the comfort and the serotonin dies away, but the calories that you took to make it happen, they don't die away. They keep coming on and on and on. So you have a yearning for serotonin, and you may not understand that you can get the equivalent benefit without the extra calories if you slept better. Every night you sleep better, you replenish to some degree your empty reservoir. And it keeps going on and on, as I told you, until ultimately you can do without it. It's not a medicine that is addictive or dependency-inducing. It's a medicine that actually makes itself less and less necessary and ultimately unnecessary.
Dr. Ezrin, we have 3 more questions here on that.
If you take, it sounds to me that when you take trazodone, you need to take it regularly for the rest of your life?
No, this is what I was trying to make. Your point, you don't. You take it as long as you need to fill your empty reservoir in the brain. Now, how do you know that you filled it? You do it by a very gradual reduction of the dose. And ultimately, you can come off of it. As I said, it makes itself less and less necessary and ultimately unnecessary.
Now, what about the people that are taking antidepressants? Do you take an antidepressant with the trazodone?
You can. I think that when you recognize that there's an interaction between the two. But we have lots of people on SSRIs, as they're called, and trazodone. They work beautifully together. Question?
Next.
The lady back here asked about the contraindications of any medications to trazodone.
Well, no, I don't think so. I think that there's nothing there that would really block its use. And some people are worried about the accompaniments of antidepressant, but that's not an issue.
Yes,
Marcia?
Yeah, Cal, you didn't mention the role of exercise in your program. And secondly, let me ask you that although there may not be a direct relationship between, if you will, brain serotonin and measurable serotonin in the bloodstream,
Right.
are there controlled studies of serum serotonin levels in obese and non-obese people that less than credence is there?
No, I know no such studies, but I don't think that the credence would be increased by having those studies, because these are 2 separate worlds. That is, the general systemic serotonin has nothing to do with the brain serotonin. There never is an interaction between them. Now, exercise is very important, because when we are talking about reducing insulin, there are 2 ways in which we do it. I explained that we think that insulin can be harmful and we want to bring it down. Not that it's ever useless, but the fact is it's, in a sense, necessary to reduce insulin to get your fat liberated. How do you do it? Well, you do it with a low-carbohydrate program, as Lana has mentioned. But also, there should be an accompanying aerobic exercise program. Now, that doesn't mean running a marathon. And what it does mean is that you should do brisk walking or a treadmill or something that you enjoy, something that will make your heart beat a bit faster and your breathing faster. And what this does is, the aerobic exercise acts as if it were insulin. It's amazing. So you don't have to make as much insulin when you're doing aerobic exercise. So the combination of diet down and exercise up will give you a dramatic drop. You know how quickly that happens? When we first started to use this program, and we were measuring insulin on a daily basis, we found out that it was, as expected, high. But by the 3rd and 4th day, we couldn't find it anymore in the blood. So that it had been dropped dramatically to the level where it was no longer functioning. Now, what does this mean? Well, it means that you've, in a sense, insulin is the jailer of stored fat. I mean, we've talked about it being able to put in the fat tissue, particularly the abdominal toxic fat, and lock it away. Insulin is the jailer to restore fat. Well, when you fire the jailer, which is just what we've done, you open up the prison gates, you liberate that fat, and it comes out and changes its nature. Now, you may have somebody in the book or others that may win the book today. You'll see that the title of the book is Your Fat Can Make You Thin. And when I deliberately named it provocatively because I wanted interviewers to say, how can you say that, doctor? Doesn't everybody know that fat makes you fatter? I said it depends on the context. The context is if it's in storage, it's bad. If it's liberated, it's good. And how does it work? How does it work as something that's good for you? In two ways. One is that it actually provides an auxiliary source of energy, energy that's rapidly available. So when you're on a low carbohydrate diet, you don't have as much in the way of stored carbohydrate energy. You run out of it sooner. But what stays available is that this rapidly burning fat fills in beautifully. I call it a high-octane fuel. It's actually the best gas for the car. But it doesn't stop there. They have this fat, as it's being burned rapidly for energy, is transformed into what we call a beneficial natural pharmacy. Now, Alana has alluded to the fact that there is an appetite control portion of this fat. But there's also the fact that it does cause a water loss. This is a gentle diuretic. It's also a natural tranquilizer. And all of these things can be obtained without the danger of the drugs that are prescribed through the pharmacy. There are no side effects, so it's an offer you can't refuse. You're getting from that rapidly burning fat an enormous benefit, but it's not enough. Until you deal with the serotonin, it isn't enough. But the two together are unbeatable. Okay, who's awake now?
Yes, go ahead, please.
I'm curious, when you talk about sleep, how many hours of that is sleep?
It's not a matter of the quantity of sleep, it's the quality of sleep. You can have 5 or 6 hours of deep restorative sleep. That's better than 12 hours of shallow, superficial, dreaming sleep. Okay? Yes?
So are you really saying that even though you perceive yourself as being sound asleep, you may not have the quality of sleep that you want?
That's it exactly, and I think you cannot, you know, we had a Hungarian professor when I was in Toronto as a medical student. He said, these little aphorisms, he said, praise the day after the sunset. So that meant that you had to wait a while before you passed judgment. So you look at that way, it's not so unfair. I think, and you will tell, I mean, people nod off in my meetings here because they haven't had enough sleep.
May I make a comment here also? It's about your question actually about exercise. I do not rely heavily on exercise to help you with weight reduction at all. I do promote exercise. I think it's wonderful in terms of insulin, to promote insulin sensitivity. However, it is not the exercise that in our program that actually helps you lose weight so much. Well, yes.
In most health articles that I've read, they recommend healthy doses of fruits and vegetables. Lana, what are the best fruits and vegetables and what quantity should we be eating in your diet?
When it comes to weight reduction, we're obviously trying to take you away from carbohydrates to temporarily give your body a break. That is what the body is asking for. When the body is developing insulin resistance, the whole time it's begging you to actually lay off carbohydrates in order to get back to the insulin sensitivity. So it's all very situational. For the purposes of giving your body a break, I'm actually taking you off fruit, but not off vegetables, and I'm going to everything except for the starchy vegetables such as corn and potatoes and peas, pretty much you will be able to have. In terms of the fruit, I introduced that back in the maintenance for sure, and I also observe what is called glycemic index when it comes to that, because some will raise your blood sugar more than others. If you were to plot out that on the scale, you would see that, for instance, even within vegetables, corn is going to raise your blood sugar a lot quicker than a lot of the other vegetables. And same when it comes to fruits, the tropical fruits will more so than the berries and so on. So I teach that a lot more in the maintenance phase, and I do give a huge variety of vegetables in the weight loss phase.
Yes?
Do you treat type 1 diabetic?
I do, but I do it in a very different way. I think that These are people